Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Greenwood, bringing you your weekly cocktail of PR and marketing tips that will help you and your business. Stick around, we'll get started right after these messages. Hello, listeners. It's me, Alex, from PR After Hours. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment about the way I get this show right into your earbuds every week. It's because I use Anchor FM. Now, I've told you previously that I've been podcasting since 2006, back when we used stone knives and bear skins and a couple of Dixie cups and string. Anchor FM has really streamlined this and made it simpler for people who don't know the first thing about setting up a podcast or don't have, time to learn all the pro tools and stuff, because it's all right here. First thing it's important to know is it's free. There are certain tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's huge. Distribution is a big pain in the butt, to be honest with you, so it's really great Anchor FM can do that for you, and you're not paying hosting fees. That adds up every month. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, so download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started, and be sure to join me in the virtual cocktail lounge on PR After Hours. Voting isn't just going to the polls on election day anymore. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, breaks down the options your state offers for casting a ballot, empowering you to decide when and where to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It's easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. Democracy Works is committed to helping you vote no matter what. Their tool, How to Vote, does just that. So decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote. Does your PR and marketing have the right stuff? Well, we'll find out as we welcome Raj Goodman Anand to the show. He's the founder of Goodman Lantern, a team of native English content writing and software development services that help businesses sell better and grow faster. An engineer by profession, he's founded 3 startups, raised capital, and taken one venture from zero to acquisition. He has not only had a flourishing career within startups, but also with large and mid-sized organizations, working on launching startups or new products within them. Products he has built have made companies an income of excess of 55 million pounds. For you Americans, that's a lot more than dollars. Anyway, Raj has also won Business Week's Europe Young Entrepreneur Award in 2007 and has been named one of Revolution magazine's 50 most influential people in digital in 2009. He's spoken at various venues, including the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, British Library, and several universities, including LSE. Raj and his entrepreneurial ventures have had coverage in The Telegraph, Guardian, Business Week, and Observer. Raj Goodman Anand, welcome to the Virtual Lounge.
Alex, lovely to be here finally. I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
Very good. Well, you're very welcome to be here and joining us from across the pond, of course. So it's excellent to have you here. Well, let's jump right in. You're an engineer by profession or by training, but you are working in content creation. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Well, actually, my research was in AI. And the joke is, back then, 15 years back, my mum thought that AI was the study of UFOs. So obviously, that didn't go really well for my mum.
Oh my gosh, I love that. UFOs. Actually that could be interesting. But so you did that training, but then you got into content creation. So what is it? What drew you into that?
Well, so obviously, after university and research, I kind of knew that if I continue to research, I'm not going to make the money I want to make. So I start my first business in social media software. And progress sort of raising capital for that business, look at to a growth, working with some very large travel companies. That unfortunately didn't go the way I planned it. So I kind of moved to the next business, and then worked for a large corporate. Um, Kind of naturally progressed into management actually. Um, and, and in my last corporate job, that company, I took it from 7.5 million to actually 45 million euros. But overall, over the sort of the 5 years I worked with them, it was a lot of money I made for them. And the big factor which helped us do that was telling a story and using content in a way to build a brand for the company. PR, brand, and content with a great sort of synergies there. And after I kind of worked with them, and I spent 280 the 280 flights per year for them, I thought, okay, now it's time to kind of really start my own business. And that's
Yeah.
when I thought about content writing as a business for B2B companies.
Well, that would certainly inspire me to do the same. I think having that great success, take, as we say in America, take that secret sauce of yours and serve it to your own family. There you go. So tell me, Raj, let's talk. We're talking to a lot of PR folks, a lot of marketers in this show, but we're also talking to small business owners. I would love it, if I may presume to ask, for you to make the case for why small business owners need to have content creation as part of their marketing and PR strategy. I just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. Well, if I may, the overall benefit of content is actually to help companies grow faster and sell better. That's the overall benefit. We'll kind of dive a little deeper into it. There are multiple benefits of content. One is to tell your authentic story. People love to hear stories. They love to relate to it. And there's no better way to do it than to have it written or in the form of, say, videos. Um, we aren't selling them, a service or product. We're selling them a benefit. We're selling them a story of the founder of why they started the thing they actually do. People link to that. An example is on LinkedIn, for example, you put the same content on your profile or your company page. Typically, your profile will have 3 times more engagement than your company page content. And that's because people link to people more than companies itself. So that's one. Number two is content can also be used to help you get up the most frequently ways to search a company, which is search engines and Google. If done correctly, you could get on top of Google, for instance, or Bing, for instance, and that can lead to some really fantastic opportunities. So it helps you build some traffic, which generates then leads and then finally customers. So the holy grail of the business we run in is money, revenue, and that comes through the leads we generate. So these are 2 initial benefits. I can go on about this, Alex, but maybe I'll just stop there for a second and then just let's see if this is the right way, right
No,
approach you.
it is, and I need to tell you, Raj, nobody's ever articulated this to me about, because I obviously have a LinkedIn profile and I have a company page. The company page gets a fraction of the interaction that my profile does, and I've never really thought about that. People want to connect with and share with people, not faceless corporations, that kind of thing. So when you're telling your story in this way, you're going to see a lot more benefit if it's on a more human level and telling actual stories rather than pumping out press releases about our latest widget or website. I love that. And then, of course, my own experience, I'll be in business 11 years in January. And one thing I have done religiously, Raj, is blog. And I've done an episode about this recently. Preaching the gospel, as I say, of blogging, and I'll tell you, because it's like you say, it's not just because you have an opportunity to share your experiences and boost your credibility in one way, but it's also boosting that SEO. It's boosting being found. Which, by the way, also seems to pair up with LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a very well vetted site according to the search engines. So if you have great content on your company blog or your personal blog, and you're posting articles to LinkedIn, that's going to go a long way to leapfrogging over the competition. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the gurus of marketing today, like Seth Godin, apparently he's blogged every day for the last, I don't know how many years now, maybe 20 years. And that's, according to him, that is the one reason why he is current He's relevant, and again, he's written some great books. The one I can think of right now is Purple Cow, which is one
Yep,
of my favorite books.
me
Um,
too.
but we don't remember him as Mr. Purple Cow. We remember him as Seth Godin. We remember Neil Patel as Neil Patel. These marketing gurus always go with their personal brand first, and then comes the company. Um, Neil Patel's um, uh, SaaS tool, for example, is called Neil Patel, which is
Smart.
very, very smart, I believe. So yeah, personal brand first is what I believe.
I love Seth Godin. I listen to his podcast as well. And would you include podcasting into the mix as far as you writing things, video? Would you include podcasts, or is podcasting is still a little too adjunctive at this moment?
Well, the target audience is what I'm very careful about. So I've recently come across the fact that a lot of C-suite members, C-level executives use podcasts as a way to kind of pair up with the exercise. So when they go for a run or they go to the gym, they put on their podcast and they want to hear the latest and the greatest in the market today. So actually, podcasts might have a smaller share compared to YouTube and SEO. The impact it can make is phenomenal, and I think people who are not looking at podcasting today are missing a big trick in their book.
Well, you're not going to get any argument from me, Raj, on that one. I've been podcasting off and on for since 2006, but this show. Usually they were a labor of love, kind of a hobby kind of thing. But this show, which started, it's going to be a year ago in January. This has been something where I just decided I'm going to take nearly 27, 28 years of experience and distill it and share it. Um, Partially because I wanted to reach people, but partially I think because I really do think, and I'm at that stage in my career when I feel like I actually have something to say. I can tell you about my mistakes, I can tell you about my successes, and I love it. But to get to your point, which I promise you I'm getting to, is that I hear more and more people say, I love your show because I can hear it when I'm exercising. It's sometimes people say it's like my once a week I'll put you on so I can kind of just get a business tip I wouldn't think of from a PR perspective. So I love that. I don't for a moment think it's the main reason why I get work, but I think, as you said, I think it kind of buttresses what I've already been doing with the blogging, which is, folks, I'll just say it one last time here, is if you're not blogging, you don't have to blog, 7 days a week. Although when you're first starting out, I recommend you have a very consistent 4 or 5 day schedule. But if you can do that, you're going to start building up those treasures here on earth that will help you with your SEO and improve your credibility. Raj, it's interesting about Seth Godin. His blog posts that usually we're reading recently, they're not all that long either. What are they, about 400 words maybe?
Yeah, they are really short actually, and it's being consistent is what he's really keen on doing. And I think again, looking at obviously this whole SEO business is a bit of a black art. No one really knows exactly what's inside it. Um, but there is evidence that suggests that if done, relevant information is put on regularly, it does lead to a higher rank. And one of the businesses I built in the past, which I sold, which was acquired, was actually built on the SEO strategy,
Hmm.
and actually blogging was a big part of it. I just got a person to just blog, and we'll have a chat in the morning, and in the afternoon they will write it down, and and the thing was they were not even the best bloggers, to be honest, but still it led to a lot of leads. And that's the secret of any content strategy, is to get on with it and stop procrastinating.
Yeah, we have the old saying, fish or cut bait. I've had clients who really, unfortunately, would be their own worst enemy because they just couldn't let go of anything. They had to make it so perfect. And I would just say, no, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Put yourself out there, because I think, getting back to what you said previously, Raj, I mean, people want to speak with humans and read about humans, and therefore humans are fallible. And it's okay if your blog is, like you said, not like Seth Godin or not the greatest thing ever written. It's not the point. The point is, are you authentically sharing who you are, what you do, and helping others? And that last part's a big thing with me. I suspect it is with you as well.
Yes, I mean, obviously, while writing content, the aim is to give tons and tons of value. If there's no value in it, why are they going to read stuff? And if they don't read stuff, then Google will be like, why should I give you a higher rank? Because no one's going to be on your page for longer. We only give you ranks if you really are, or rank or kudos if you really are, getting people to stay there. And there's a whole thing about funnels, sales funnels, for example, and content strategy for funnel as well. So the idea really is that if you are building traffic on your site, and you don't have much, then you're very much on the what I call the tofu, top of the funnel section, where you are writing predominantly about your industry, the trends, for example, generic stuff, for instance. But all through the time, you're giving value to the end user. In the second stage or the middle of the funnel, MOFU, you're talking about your product or your service, but again, focusing on the end consumer and value add. You're educating them on what's possible. So if you are looking for, say, automation in marketing and you're HubSpot, then you basically are informing them possibilities of what they can do, how can they save time. And then finally comes the conversion cycle. That's the BOFU, bottom of the funnel. That's where you kind of convert people into landing pages, by emails, by drip campaigns, sort of stuff, a lot of call to action, for example. This is the funnel which we often talk about with our customers, and that's the way we do it. But every stage is about adding value for the end consumer.
Yeah, that's the very basis of speaking of HubSpot, the inbound marketing theory, which is really more than a theory. It's a fact. I think, as I said previously, since I've been blogging forever, I've been technically doing inbound marketing for myself my whole career, not even understanding that's what it was. Let me ask you a little bit about Goodman Lantern for a second. Are you strictly working with super large companies or mid-sized companies? Is that where your space is, or do you work with any smaller startup, small business companies?
Well, we work. There are three areas of Goodman Lantern with content. There is planning, content creation, and execution. The big part of our business is actually content creation and then execution. So we do a lot of content creation. We do marketing content like blogs, articles, for example. We do long form content for like ebooks, research papers, and we do e-commerce content as well. And our clients tend to vary quite a bit. We predominantly work with B2B companies. That's where we work with also a lot of B2C companies, because we do e-commerce as well. And so they're like, you know what, you do e-commerce, so help us out there. Throughout the time when we're working on our content, we aim, our business is very focused on entrepreneurial businesses. That's where we're really trying to help our customers, who use digital technology to get customers. If that's not what they do, then unfortunately they're not our clients. And our clients do vary quite a bit. We work with some very large public companies, to some startups, for example, who will raise some funding, for instance, or some companies who are run by second-time entrepreneurs as well. But a majority of the customers, have 30 to 100 employees, for instance. That's a typical sweet spot for us, but we vary quite a bit. And we have worked with some very large companies on the strategy and content creation. Then we also have other ones as well, which are not as big as them.
And at the end of the show and in the show notes, we're going to have links to how people can find Goodman Lantern and get more information. If I could just be mercenary on behalf of PR people, since that's what I do, I would love it if you would just tell me the one thing you wish PR professionals knew about what you do, the thing you wish we would do more of or do a better job of, and just be as brutal as you want.
Well, I might go a little bit beyond just PR professionals. I think we are in the age of quick results, fast food. We have burgers, we have got pizzas which are prepared in like 5 minutes, and you got them in your hand. And sometimes I get a call the customer, and they want results like literally in 2 weeks. They want the result. They want strategy planning done. They want content creation done. They want the execution done. They want the results in 2 weeks' time. And I think to myself, I would love to do that for you, but good content and the creation of value from it, is not realized in 2 weeks' time. It takes longer than that. And the good thing about content is it's a gift that keeps giving. Once you invest in that, for years and years to come, it generates tons and tons of good, good revenues, um, good sort of ethos across the company. It is a gift that keeps giving. And I think if people are just thinking long term in terms of content, they'll see much better results from it.
So focusing on the long term, but thinking long term, but as you say, act on the short term. Keep doing these things, and it's going to accumulate for you if you stick with it consistently.
Yes. So for example, invest in evergreen content, for instance. So one thing which I kind of get, I mean, every company is different. The strategy is different. There's some companies who focus on trends, fads and opportunities.
Yeah.
Some companies who focus on the long tail stuff. Some people thinking just long term and not short term. From my experience, if you're focusing on, from a content perspective, on evergreen content, which basically means stuff which is relevant today and will be relevant tomorrow as well, maybe 5 years from now as well, that sort of stuff is highly valuable, and it gets you leads all the time from an SEO perspective, but also from a company branding perspective as well. For example, if you look at, um, travel, for instance, now travel is going through a very tough time, but if you're talking about the venues open in Bali, for instance, today, maybe in 5 years' time, they're shut. They're not there anymore. So think about, for example, the actual resort, the beach areas, for instance, the quality of opportunities you can go within Bali, for instance, that sort of stuff, and not focus on the venues itself. It's a bad example, but I mean, I'm trying to say is think long term.
Yeah, think long term. Well, one last quick question, another self-serving question, because I rarely get a content expert like yourself on the show. So like I said, I have 11 years of blogging, right? I found myself going back all the way to year 1 or 2 and just looking at some of it, and some of it's very cringeworthy, of course, but but I found some topics that I could update. So I wanted to ask you just a technical question. If you take a post from, say, 2011, and it's been there, and obviously it's performed, and it's probably petered out. I haven't seen a lot of hits on that particular page in a while, but if I refresh it and add new content, does that do anything SEO wise?
Absolutely. So oftentimes, we would run a few campaigns for our customers within the same service agreement, where one part is building new content, the other part is refreshing content, and that's a big part because Google, for instance, likes refreshing content. It likes to see that you've actually updated the content and republished it for your site. So it gives you more brownie points.
Thanks, Raj, because I felt like I was cheating a little bit. I thought, I've already written this, but the thing to remember too, and that's a silly thing to think, because the thing to remember is not everybody who reads your blog today was reading your blog 11 years ago. Okay, as we final few minutes here, we kind of touched on this before the show, but I think it's so important right now with the incredible strain all of us are under in the world. Folks, just to let you know, I send out a pre-interview questionnaire for guests, and I just ask, what do you want to talk about? And I was so delighted to see that Raj really wanted to mention talking about karma, about doing good and helping others. Can you just elaborate on your personal philosophy about that?
Sure. So Goodman Lantern is my third business. I've stolen business before, and this business is not only about making money, but it's also about giving back. And for instance, Goodman Lantern is championing the ability for women to shine and to remove inequality, especially the gender pay gap. I mean, that's a big topic we're discussing and looking to change that. So we hire a lot of women in our company. We really want to encourage them. Same pay as male folks, for example. We want to help neutralize this whole industry of technology in digital that's male dominated, which is not a problem, but I think you should give an opportunity for women as well, because they haven't had the same opportunity in the past, and it's not fair. So this is also part of the UN SDG number 5, to give opportunity for women. So we hire a lot of women. We want to make sure that they get an opportunity to run and have a flexible lifestyle. This is something that I've seen all the time with my women team members, that they need flexibility. And so we have built a company to be fully flexible. In fact, the company Goodman Lantern was built to run remotely from a boat. That was the main principle of this. It never happened. I'm still, as you can probably see, I'm still in London, so I'm not on a boat yet. But the philosophy is that people can travel, people can be, a full-time, part-time person. The important thing is that they are experts of what they do and they love what they do. And if they have that ambition and that drive and that love for content, we work with them, we train them, we encourage them, and we think not only about like the next 1 year, 2 years. I hope that my team members who already have been with me for the last 6 years will continue for the next 10 years with me, and we all grow together. And that's a very big part of what we do at Goodman Lantern. That's my karma, as it were, within Goodman Lantern.
I love that. I think my version of that is for a number of years, I worked with interns from local colleges and universities, and I'm so touched that several of them, I think I've worked with about a dozen, but 2 or 3 of them at least follow me on social media, and we still keep in touch. One of them, who I haven't seen in 4 years, asked me for a reference. It's that great feeling. And I know my spouse, she worked for a small agency when she first started in PR. And we're talking, well, I won't say how many years ago, she doesn't want me to tell, but a long time ago. And she became basically acquainted with and professional friends with the gentlemen who were the partners until they passed away the past couple of years. I think those kinds of wonderful relationships are born out of when you're in a position to give someone an opportunity. I think those kind of relationships are so important and so vital. And it's really great to hear that across the pond we have the same feeling about that. Raj, how do we get a hold of you? Where do we find Goodman Lantern?
Well, if you Google Goodman Lantern, hopefully you should find it as number one on Google. If not, there's something is wrong, obviously. So goodmanlantern.com or Google it. Obviously, if you want to get in touch with me, LinkedIn, look for Raj Goodman Anand, and connect with me and drop me a message. I'd love to hear from people. And absolutely, it is, it's all about communication. So my line's always open. I'm always keen to have a chat. And so goodmanlantern.com and LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Those links will be in our show notes. Raj Goodman Anand, I always hope to learn something new and or be reaffirmed. And I got both of those things from you today. Thanks so much for appearing here in the virtual lounge.
Thank you for the opportunity. Loved it.
Oh, you know what that means? Looks like it's last call here at your virtual lounge for PR news, views, and interviews. Don't forget, you can ask me a question anytime. You can do it through our Twitter account, which is @HoursPR, or even better, you can send me a message vocally. I would love to hear your voice, and I'll answer it on the show. There's a link in the show notes. All you have to do is sign up through Anchor FM. It's free, doesn't take long, and you record your message. I get the message. I will play your audio. Just give me your first name and the city you live in, and then I will answer the question to the best of my ability right here on the show. Don't forget to, if you're enjoying this podcast, you can support it and help increase the frequency and value of the show. Just consider being a sponsor for your brand or your agency or just yourself because you're like, I like this show. Or just drop a few coins in the virtual tip jar. Either way, there's links in the show notes. Please check that out. All of that, of course, being in the show notes where you're listening right now or at prafterhours.com. I see that they're turning up the lights. Last call is over, and I've got to clean up this virtual lounge. And until next time, I'm Alex Greenwood, and you've been listening to PR After Hours on Anchor FM.